Hey Trails Collective, Ian here coming at you with the weekly rundown for April 29th in the worst year ever so far, 2020. It's a good thing for trail running though in our lives, and have no fear, this week we're going to bring you some of that goodness in our region, which is the Northeast plus the Virginias. We're hoping that this gets off the ground, we can find other individuals to spearhead similar ventures in their own regions across the country. The hope is that by keeping it regional, that it becomes more local and useful and thus functional to individuals rather than just national or world headlines. So this week, what do we got? We've got Connecticut versus Germany in the FKT world. We've got the Mayan Trail Challenge, referred to as fug nutting. To Ellie, bringing us other media and podcast news, to maybe the toughest family in PA, giving you a glimpse of their 24-hour challenge. So let's get at it. Stemming outward from the epicenter of trail closures, which we could probably look at as New Jersey, with virtually every one of their trails being closed, and access from Baxter in Maine to the Shenandoah in Virginia, with the deluged Harriman or Bear Mountain in New York. Trails keep going down. So one of the latest came I believe this week was the U.S. Forest Service shut down more of the trailheads in the White Mountains, and instituting fines of up to $5,000, I believe I caught, of potentially parking in or using those areas in the barricaded trailheads. So as was mentioned by a commenter in a Facebook thread on the Lincoln Police Facebook page, at what point does this start calling into question the motto of live free or die? Officially change it and update it to run free and pay $5,000. All right, let's get on with it. Ellie, what's shaking in this week's mostly regional podcast world?
Hey Trails Collective, Ellie here. Let's talk about some podcasts and one YouTube video. The first podcast is Hamstrings and Heartstrings, my podcast with fellow runner Chris O'Brien. In this one, I turned the tables on Chris and asked him about a race that he felt he fully prepared and trained for. He told me about Muddy Sneaker 2015, where he broke 2 hours. You're not going to want to miss it. You figure out some really good gems in there. The next one, CULTRA Trail podcast, a new favorite of mine called Spanking the Monkey. And they talk about what the community can do to help each other right in this moment. And I loved this quote from Art. I know us humans are mostly shitty animals. We can't smell as well as beagles. We can't see as well as eagles. We can't swim like dolphins or fly like hawks, but damn it, we got to be the most dominant species on the planet because of our ability to band the fuck together and cooperate. And I think that is very timely for the time right now. They also did Patreon shoutouts and shouted out tons of businesses in the show notes that you can support right now. And I actually want to pivot a little bit and talk about the Finger Lakes Running Store virtual COVID-19 miler that's going to be happening this weekend. It starts today, actually, so not this weekend, and you have the option to run 19 miles, 19K, or 1.9 miles to support Ian and the Finger Lakes Running Store. You're not going to want to miss this. I know I'll be running, and so will Ian, and so will tons of our friends. So let's raise some money, because you know what? We might almost be out of this, and one more step helps us all out, right? The next podcast that I'm going to talk about, let's switch back, is a new one called The Coopcast with ultra running coach Jason Coop. Jason Coop coaches many elite runners at the Carmichael Training Systems coaching service, and he also wrote a book that I really like called The Essentials of Ultra Running. Check it out if you haven't before. This episode was called When to Run versus When to Hike. I've been talking to a lot of East Coast trail runners this past week, and all of them do the most gnarly races that I can barely even think about. Scrambling, climbing up 20% grades. Well, they know when to run and when to hike, but that's something that I definitely need to work on. Coop interviews Jackson Brill, recent graduate of Colorado, to help figure out when it's best to run and best to hike. So I definitely think you should check out this episode. There's a lot of science, but it's very applicable. And let's see if you know on your next run when you should be hiking and when you should be running. It's not exactly intuitive. And then the last thing I'm going to mention is a podcast video by Life is Trail Running. It's called We Are Not Slow, We Are Energy Efficient. And basically Pamela and Sandy decide to run the English's Ridge Rumble Loop, but then during the run they decide, let's just run wherever we want. And it really looks beautiful, and it really expresses about having social media and enjoying just what running is. And they do want to note that this was filmed before social distancing guidelines were encouraged. And that's our media for the day. Back to you, Ian.
Thanks. Oh, I'm sorry. You caught me. You caught me with this beautiful new Trails Collective buff that just arrived today. A limited edition, beautiful print. Whether you believe it's a shield to fend off the coronas, or whether it happens to be something that'll just keep peace in your neighborhood and keep your neighbors from yelling at you for being out running within 80 meters of them. It's a fine buff, so get it while you can. Be right here. We'll have to establish some sort of price, but let us know if you want one of these, and we'll get it headed your way. So in the absence of events, individuals at various levels of fitness continue to establish new FKT routes and just pretty cool new adventures and just efforts out there. We were clued into a couple of them this week. One of them was young stallion Wesley Atkinson. Was rumored to have run from New York back to his house, I think around 100 miles in somewhere in the 13-hour range, or a little under 14 hours. We're hoping to bring you more of those details when we can connect with him further, hopefully in this next week or so. Tristan Baxendale of the Binghamton area in New York, looking for an effort to replace the canceled Hellbender 100, covered 108 miles using the Twisted Branch course, and heading through all the way to Ithaca after that, gaining and losing respectively each around 17,000 feet in about 29 hours. For those of you who have run Twisted Branch, it's a pretty beautiful course. Its numbers have really shot up the past couple years as it became a Western States qualifier and fills up pretty quickly. It's typically in July, I believe, or maybe August. Sorry, I'm forgetting in the moment. Hopefully it'll run this year, but check it out for a future year and get on it pretty early. But he basically took that course and just extended it. According to the Garmin Data, it also saw him expend over 13,000 calories. That's a lot of calories. So let's quantify that. Well, I quantified that. That's the equivalent to him consuming 34 Wendy's Frosties. That's a lot of delicious Frosty. Or, for those of you who are maybe more uppity vegetarians, that's 245 heads of lettuce that the dude could have consumed over the course of his 29 hours. Moving on to the FKT front, CULTRA Facebook fans, Jim McCusker, posted on the April 20th regarding the FKTs that in the past 30 days there's been a total of 98 new routes and 204 new FKTs. This is versus 36 new routes and 64 FKTs last year. Huge pickup. And he mentioned leading the charge, which I confirmed, Germany and Connecticut. As James Kyer noted in the thread, so Connecticut is now going head-to-head with other nations. Let's give you the rundown on what Connecticut, what that looks like. Jamie Miller lowered her 2019 18-mile Quinnipiac Trail record in 3:59. Ryan Fox lowered the unsupported Aspetuck Trail to 1:44. Its third FKT breaking in this year alone. Ben Ristow took on the Naugatuck Trail. Michelle O'Neill taking no time off and nabbing the Highland Forest Trail. She's been pretty active. Dan Bates on the Timberland Loop of the Metacomet. Brian Rakaporior, sorry, I'm going to not get your name right there, on the Metabasset Trail. Interesting on that one that the distance in print on that trail is disputed to be between 57 and 62.5 miles. Looks like Brian opted for the 58.67 version. Slacker. Icons Debbie and Scott Livingston took down the Nipmuc trails in 7:25. Jennifer Stack, the unsupported out and back of the Saugatuck Trail in 4:05. Ben Ristow, the Naugatuck Trail in 1:42. Stefan Rodriguez, the Metacomet, Timberland as well. And Sally Campbell, another Saugatuck Trail variation in the self-supported out and back. Settle down, Connecticut. So, in case you're keeping track, that makes the scores Connecticut 11, Germany 3, Connecticut 11, Sweden 1, Connecticut 11, Austria 1, Connecticut 11, Switzerland 1. Connecticut is holding its own against other countries. And they could probably claim another one here with the one in Rhode Island with Connecticut resident, I think, Liz Allen taking down the unsupported time on Rhode Island's Arcadia Trail in 2:28. At 14 miles out and back, I'm pretty sure that must cover most of the trails available in Rhode Island. All right, enough with Connecticut overachievers. Let's move on. What else is happening out there in other states? In Virginia, Always Animal Mike Wardian set the bar in the 18-mile Mount Vernon Trail in 1:59 one way. He decided he might as well keep it going at that point, as he often does, tacking on the return for a total out and back record of 4:08. In Massachusetts, Ben Thompson took down the Skyline Trail in 51 minutes. In Delaware, Mike Biffle took down an only 3-week-old record on the 59-kilometer Brandywine Trail, lowering the mark to 6:11. PA also had a solid week, a number coming out of PA. These FKT tips came in from collective audience member Grace Langhine, so thanks, Grace, for giving us the tips. She said that Eric Ferry just set one on the rail trail in PA, Maryland, around 47 miles at 8:15 pace. Scott Newcomer, RD for Squirrely Trail, Tail Trail One, on the Rocks Trail Run, and just a generally awesome dude and trail runner. Just ran the PA section of the MDT for, she says, for funsies, a bit over 100 miles in about 25 hours. It's no joke on that effort. Adam Kolb did 20 laps on the Mount Tom, for 20,000 feet of gain in 50 miles. No joke in 50 miles, nice work. And Kathleen Kuzik snagged the women's FKT for the Black Forest Trail. I think it sounds like she attempted that earlier in the year and didn't quite get it in certain conditions and came back and settled the score this time. Nice run, Kathleen. Also in PA, Clayton Bouchard slayed another one. We just profiled Clayton, I think, a week or two ago. In this case, he took down the 32-mile Thunder Swamp Trail in 6:02. Nice work, Clayton. And so, speaking of Clayton, he and Lipsy came up with a clip feeding us up this week with an ancient Mayan running tradition known as Fugnut. It's actually possible that the tradition actually has a Pennsylvania Dutch origin. But actually, I don't know, maybe it was just a Mayan neighborhood within the Pennsylvania Dutch country. Look, it doesn't matter. Just check it out, y'all.
I'm gonna try to...
This game we play is called Hut Fug. Harden the fuck up game. And simply the slowest person goes first. And with social distancing rules, you need to stay 6 feet away. So when you approach a person, when you finally overtaken them, you got to yell, "Fug nut!" And they got to get off the trail 6 feet so that you can pass. And that in turn makes them a fug nut. And
nobody wants to be the fug nut. Nobody wants to be a fug nut.
So the moral of the story is,
don't be a fug nut.
don't be a fug nut.
Or is the moral of the story harden the fuck up?
Wow.
Harden the fuck up to not be a fug nut.
We'll find out on top of the hill.
Yeah, you're burning daylight now, Clayton.
Yeah, Nate.
Good luck. Godspeed. Woo! Don't be a fug nut. Oh no, if I yell fug nut, you've been fug nutted.
I'm going for it.
All right, Ed, man. Show them how it do.
Last night I went to a party. It was
Oh, I'm sorry. You caught me checking out this, if I didn't mention it already, this sweet new Trails Collective buff. Known to repel COVIDs, keep peace in the neighborhood, limited edition, pretty sweet buff. Let us know if you want one of these. So, what's next? We got Ellie. Ellie's coming back. Let us know, cue us in a little bit what's going on in the media this week. Ellie, take it.
This next story really brought a smile to my face. From the Massachusetts Ultra website, local runner Missioner uses running superpower to bring laughter to neighbors during the pandemic. And essentially, local legend Lori Missioner, who has a lot of 100-milers and records to her name, decided to spice up her running a little bit. She decided to run in different costumes throughout the week. So first she started out with Wonder Woman, and then she moved on to a T-Rex, Phoenix from X-Men, Elsa from Frozen, and she has so far run in about 13 different costumes with her daughter as well. This was really fun because I think that seeing runners often now we're like, oh, make sure we stay 6 feet away. But I mean, if I saw someone outside running in a costume, that really, I mean, I wouldn't go out and join them, but that would definitely pep me up a little bit. And I'm so glad that people like this are taking the opportunity to spice up their running, do something that they might not do if they were training for a race, and make others smile in the process. So thanks, Lori. And here's a clip of Lori running in her T-Rex costume.
I gotta go inside.
Okay, babe. You guys are so great. Thank you, Sumo. Thank you, T-Rex. Bye.
Cool, right? And if that's not enough, check out this video, which Lori sent me herself, preparing for the Boston Marathon.
I have willed my soul with all that is within me
to keep a promise to myself
to know my limits,
to know my strength,
to then go beyond,
to take my pace and move on past
until I do become at last a part of ancient history.
I raise my arms up to the sky. I conquer my own self today.
I am a part of history.
Aura Vipa Running's virtual Aura Vipa Strong race happened this past week, and local runner Pete Kresak participated in a 100-mile option, and he sent me this recap of his race. I ran the Aura Vipa Strong virtual 100-mile option over 9 days as time allowed. This was difficult to do with newborn twins, but made even easier by the fact that my wife and I are both home from work. The Aura Vipa event helped me find a sense of purpose aside from taking care of the kids. The dedicated online community was all about finding creative ways to get in the mileage, which made it fun to follow along with other runners. Signing up gave me motivation to get out the door at times when I'd rather take a nap. In short, it was what I needed to help me better cope with the pandemic and the stress that comes along with being a new parent. Pete says, I met my goal of doing each run in a different park or forest with minimal repetition of trails. All of it was off-road if you include 12 miles on a paved bike path and a few miles on the dirt roads. And plot twist, Pete finished off the event with a 1-mile PR, running hard downhill on a forest road to crush his prior PR. He got the idea to combine Mike Wardian's depletion mile with Kyle Pietari's sub 4-minute mile downhill. And you know what, if that doesn't sound like a Pete Kresak thing to do, then you don't know Pete Kresak. So great job. The next person I want to talk about, and actually she sent me a video, so I'll just play the clip, is Jennifer Walton. So let's talk to Jen.
Good morning, Ellie. I just finished the Aravipa Strong Virtual 50K race today. I did it over 4 legs and finished the last leg today. I ended up doing the virtual race because 2 of my half marathons this spring were canceled and I needed something to keep me motivated and keep me going. And the Aravipa Strong virtual race was great because it really helped me get my mileage up. And I got it done today and it was great.
Thanks, Jen, and great job. Back to you, Ian.
Thank you, Ellie. So on the note, they're mentioned on the Finger Lakes Runners Club COVID-19 Fund Run. I just want to extend a very sincere thank you again to the Finger Lakes Runners Club. Well, actually, let's back it up a bit. Sincere thank you to Scott Parr and the Rochester crew for getting the model together at all to support their shops up in Rochester, and to Pete Kresak and the Finger Lakes Runners Club for spearheading on this end as a benefit for our running shop, the Finger Lakes Running Company. It's for sure a lot of hard times for a lot of us out there right now, some a lot harder than we have it, and still with a whole lot of uncertainty ahead. So for all of you out there looking at really hard times and knowing that it's about to get tougher for a bit, just know I'm thinking of you, and hopefully we can go through this together. My hope, or at least for me, this Trails Collective has been fun to try to get off the ground. I'm looking forward to it each week, and I'm really hoping that it'll build as a collective, and with more and more people just plugging in. Trail running, I think, is really important to all of us as a community, especially when so many of us are pretty isolated versus maybe how life was prior. I think a lot of us could really use this connection. So thanks for all those who've been tuning in so far. So for tonight, we're going to close out, as I'll hope to do on a lot of these, in as much as we can get thoughts in from the Trails Collective. So if you're out there and you're willing to share a clip of maybe something that you've been up to, or an effort, or some pretty cool new challenge, or something going on in your community, let us know. Share some thoughts with us. If it builds, we may not be able to get to using all of them, but we'll for sure will when we can. So this week I want to close out with a clip from the family of Eric and Becky Kozek from Pennsylvania. We've mentioned Eric a couple times so far in FKT setting. They also, I think Becky just launched for them a new website called idiotrunner.com. If you could just go and check it out. Just getting off the ground, but check it out. So this is going to be Eric and Becky and their 2 daughters tuning us into the 24-hour Yeti Challenge, which they took on, I think, 2 weekends ago. Thanks so much for sending in the clip, Eric and Becky, and to your 2 daughters. To all of you, thanks for tuning in this week, for helping us to spread the word, sharing this update, posting it in your own media feeds, and really just helping us grow it together. So we'll catch you next week,
all right,
and we'll take it out with the Kozaks.
So, my name's Eric Kozak. This is my wife, Becky. This is my 11-year-old daughter, Lauren. And this is my 9-year-old, is that what you are? 9-year-old daughter, Casey. We were asked to talk about a running challenge we did, 2 weeks ago now? We, as a family, we attempted to do the Yeti 24-hour challenge, which a lot of you know is 5 miles every 4 hours. And you have to wait for that 4 hours to be up before you start your next 5 miles. So when I decided, I saw my friend was doing the challenge, I decided I wanted to give it a try, and I asked Becky if she'd be interested, and as just like any other challenge, if I'm doing it, she tends to want to do it also. So so she decided to do it, and then we asked our girls here if they want to run, pretty much for 24 hours straight and stay up all night long and do this crazy challenge, and their eyes lit up and said, heck yeah. So that's what we did. Becky did the challenge the way it's supposed to be done, the 5 miles every 4 hours, and the girls kind of came up with their own plan. I wasn't really comfortable with them trying to do 30 miles in 24 hours. So what did you guys end up doing? 5 miles and then 2 miles and then 5 miles and then 2?
Yes, we did 2 miles most of the time, but then sometimes we did like 5 miles or 3.
Right. And Lauren, how many did you end up with total?
19.
So Lauren got 19 miles throughout the 24-hour period, which is a PR by how many miles? What was your previous personal best?
It used to be 15.
Nice. So she beat her personal record by 4 miles. Casey, how many miles did you end up with?
14.
14 miles for over the 24-hour period. And I did the challenge. I started out with the 5 miles, but then I had to make it more fun, so I added 2 miles every round. So my laps were every 4 hours. It was 5 miles the first one, then 7, 9, 11, 13, and 15. And the last round I ended up, that was at 2 in the morning. I ended up not doing the 15. I was just tired and I was done with the challenge. So the 4 of us did the 5 mile to complete the challenge together for that last round. But I ended up with a total of 50 miles throughout the day. What was your favorite part, ladies? Lauren, what was your favorite part of the challenge?
My favorite part was at 10 o'clock when my mom and we ran around the Hills Creek Lake. I was looking forward to it all day, so it was really exciting.
Nice. What about you, Case?
You get to take breaks after you do like 5 or 2 miles.
And eat all the food.
Yeah.
Yes.
Drink soda, which you're not able to do most of the time.
What was your favorite part? Do you have one? Did you like it? Did you enjoy the format?
I enjoyed the format. I liked having the rest in between, and it seemed very doable. I mean, when you're thinking about going out and doing 32 miles, which is what my total was, it's definitely challenging, and it sure seems much easier when you have this big break of time in between. And we had some friends that we got to see out there too, which was really nice, and we did it all around here. So when the girls weren't with us, we knew right where they were, and one of us, she was close by all the time.
Yeah, the challenge was actually a lot harder than I thought it would be. Coming back to your warm house and getting in warm clothes and having to wait 2 or 3 hours, whatever it may be, and then going back out, or getting dressed and going back out and doing your miles again became very difficult, especially when you're close to that 24 hours in with no sleep and it's cold up here in Wellsboro, PA, and dark. So it was tough to keep going, but by far I would say my favorite part of it was the loop that I had to do. I think it was 11 miles. It just happened to be a couple studs of the PA trail running scene were up this way, and they stopped to my house to check out a loop that I have. So it was Clayton Bouchard, Matt Lipsy, David Lance, Eddie Pantoja. Who else was here? Am I missing anybody? Peter. I'm missing one. Oh, and Travis Toohey. They all showed up for that round, which I was actually getting tired, and they did a couple loops with me to get some mileage. So it was pretty awesome for those caliber type runners to be at my house and to run with me. I don't take stuff like that for granted. So yeah, it was a good time. Anybody that hasn't done the challenge, I highly recommend it. It's family friendly. We didn't sign up for the Yeti, like on Ultra Sign Up. We didn't sign up officially and do it that way. We just kind of did our own thing. That way we could do our own mileage and stuff. But I think we still succeeded in doing the purpose of the challenge. And for me, it's great for kids because it teaches them to not give up. It is doable, and that they can do it. And I mean, what they loved the best was just getting to stay up all night long and having to go out and run miles. And everything they did was pretty much running. I don't think you guys walked too often much. At least they tried to run as much as they can. So it's a good time. You guys have anything else you want to say?
It was nice because I was able to run with them for part of it and then continue on to do extra miles on my own or with him.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple rounds where we all ran the first couple miles together so we could stay with our girls. And and then they'd get back home and hang out while we finished our miles. But yeah, we got to see all our friends, which is always pretty much the best part. So that's about it for the challenge. The only other thing, you guys have anything else you want to add?
If I did it again, then I would want to start in the evening. So then you could run through the night first, and then you wouldn't be like asleep in the night.
Yeah, we all got pretty tired. That getting back up at 2 a.m. to go do very cold, windy miles was rough. But we got it done. Before I turn it off, the only other thing I want to add is, with all this Corona stuff and these races being canceled, I think Becky's had like three races canceled now, or postponed at least. I've had 2 or 3. Lauren's had a race canceled, Chief Watona, which is put on by John Johnson over in Bradford County. And Case was planning on doing that also. So we're all getting pretty tired of our training races and stuff getting put off and canceled and delayed. But I know everybody else is. But I was thinking on my run this morning, I get up real early, about 4:30, and run, and I was in the middle of, it was pretty miserable rainy weather, and I got to thinking that the whole reason that I got into running was to get in shape and everything, but I didn't come to love running because of races. I came to love running because of how I felt when I ran, and the friends I made from getting into the sport, and especially how I felt afterwards. The races is kind of a added benefit of the sport of running and trail racing, or trail running, I'm sorry. So as you're out there and you're getting fed up, and when your race gets canceled, just remember you didn't get into the sport because of racing. Racing was just came afterwards, and it's just we all love racing because we get to see our friends and things like that. But when you're out there, still keep running and keep smiling while you're running. That's the most important thing to remember. All right. Thanks for having us on. Wave goodbye.